Are you someone who scours their internet for the best and latest innovations, decks that are highly skill intensive but rewards the players with the greatest skill? Are you someone who wants to smash your way through tournaments with an undefeatable record? Then you have come to the wrong place. This deck doesn't do any of those things. But if you are someone who likes gimmicky interactions that are sweet, but does nothing really particular to impact the game, if you are someone who gets excited over drawing a lot of cards, irrespective of whether those cards are actually good, if you are someone who wants to play a deck that makes all your opponents go, wow, that deck sucked, but it was sweet, then boy, do I have the perfect deck for you today. Here it is. I'll give you a second to take a look at this beautiful mess. At its core, this is a Smuggler's Stash deck. I love this card. As someone who really likes gimmicks and who also really likes value, I think this is one of my favorite cards in the game. It might be the strongest card draw spell in the game as well. It is essentially 5 mana to tutor for 4 cards, 2 units and 2 weapons, which is arguably a lot better than drawing 4 random cards, in which you have maybe a 40% chance to get useless things like power. The gimmick here is the interaction between Smuggler's Stash and Destiny units. So basically your revenge units once they have died once. If your unit has Destiny in the void and you play Smuggler's Stash, it puts the unit directly into play and then you draw a card to replace it. So essentially you could set up a situation where you play Smuggler's Stash and you get 6 cards, 2 of which you put directly into play. And if you love value as much as I do, it doesn't get any better than that. So first thing I did was basically started with 4 Smuggler's Stash, and then I loaded the deck up with all the cheap revenge units. The first problem I ran into was that all of these cheap revenge units suck, and my solution was to make them better by adding weapons. But being a value lover, I only wanted to add the weapons that draws you cards. So the Ornate Katana and the Steelfang Chakram comes back to your hand. So essentially, it's the same as drawing a card. So the second problem I ran into was that I have to kill these units twice. I had to kill them very quickly as well, because sometimes it might take 10 turns for them to come back after they died the first time. So I needed a way to kill them, and I needed a way to survive the game. To do that, I added removal spells and card draw spells. So basically ways to stall out the game a little bit. This pretty much kills 2 stones with 1 bird. I kill my units, and I kill their units, and I drag out the game. Although I did find that that wasn't sufficient. Most of the time I'm still dying, so I was forced to add in 4 harsh rules to reset the board when I've fallen too far behind. Finally, I added relic weapons that work very well with Smuggler's Stash. They require sacrifices, which is in alignment with my game plan. And also, every time you play one of these weapons, they get bigger. And then when they go to the void and you bring them back with Smuggler's Stash, they get bigger again each time you play it. So they grow each time. And that's actually a very powerful interaction. In long, grindy matchups, it is common, well, it is not uncommon to get a Bloodrite Callus that's up to 16, 16, 20, 20 when the game goes long enough. So the final few slots, I added the Seek Power because the power base is atrocious and I needed this to fix the color. And then Madness works really well with all my sacrifice outlets. You take your opponent's best creature, you hit him with it, and then you sacrifice it for some value. One kind of really neat trick with Madness is that when you take your opponent's creature and then you kill and then you sacrifice it, it goes to your void, so that you can bring it back with Smuggler's Stash. So if your opponent has a particular juicy unit that you really want, it's actually a way for you to get it permanently. So that's pretty cool. First of all, I just want to preface by saying that this deck isn't that good in terms of win rates. It's just fun. It's really sweet. Nobody expects it, and I really enjoy playing it. The way I've built this deck, the train of thought and the logic and the steps that I've taken, I just want to say that that is absolutely not what you want to do when you build decks or build good decks. That's the opposite of what you want to do if you want to build a good competitive deck. In fact, I'm going to make a video on advanced deck building later on this week, so keep your eyes open for that. So that's it. Let's take this deck for a few test runs.